question that's never asked by employees or members of an organization is the question, are you a good listener? Have you ever been trained to listen? We never ask that in an employment interview. But it's a good question, because most people would say, I'm a good listener. But to answer the question, are you a trained listener, the answer is usually no. The fact is, the majority of people have never been trained to listen. But why is listening so important? Well, there's a lot of very good reasons, besides some of the obvious ones that we may think of as individuals. Going back to the 1940s, a study was made about listening, and they determined that the human can listen up to 3 times the speed at which most people speak. That's an interesting statistic, because most of us are not taking advantage of our listening skills. No one paid much attention to the report because no one could meet that capability. Another study found that listening is as important as reading and writing, and the recommendation of the report was that listening be taught in schools alongside of reading and writing. A few people paid attention, but no one ever did anything about that report. The third one found that we spend 98% of our communications time every day using our eyes and our ears. And this report threw a spotlight on an overlooked component of communication, our ears. They broke it down. The study found that we spend 9% in writing, 16% in reading, 30% in speaking, and 45% in listening. It'd be accurate to say that without training in listening, we operated at about a 25% level of efficiency in a 10-minute talk. This is rather shocking, but it gives credence to the fact that we failed many times in important situations because we lacked listening skills. A number of years ago, we ran a seminar for a large group of executives in Chicago. There were about 300 people in the room. They were all top people in that company, and it was a big company, a very successful company. But they were failing with their managers when it came to closing a presentation with a client. They would make a great presentation, have all the right information, and then would end up asking the client, what do you think? And the client would say something like, look, we've been thinking about this, but we've been having a lot of success in the past 10 years with our current program. So why should we make a change in critical times like these? We threw the ball back at the audience and asked them what they thought. What did the client say? And they all came up with pretty much the same answer. They didn't know. A few of them guessed at what was said, but none of it was really accurate. It illustrated the point that most of us are not trained to listen, and we're not confident in listening. Without embarrassing the group because they couldn't find any real meaning in the client's comments, we asked them what was the first word that was spoken. A few came up with, oh, it was we, and another one said, it was but. The fact of the matter was that the first word was look. And there were 5 components in that comment made by the client or the prospect. These executives missed all 5 benchmarks in the presentation. Shocking as it may seem to most of us, we really cannot perform in the listening arena. And this arena is where major decisions are made and our people are not trained to listen. So our suggestion is to learn how to listen. It's not the answer to all of the problems that we have today, but it's one of the major components. You're going to ask, what are the other components? Well, that's another story.